Hello students! Let's read this question. A card seller earns 1,200 per month plus a commission of 360 per card sold. The following equation represents the monthly salary E the card seller receives when he sells C cards. And then we have an equation and the question, which table represents this situation? Okay, so we're gonna have to highlight important information here. He earns 1,200 per month plus commission of 360 per card sold. The following equation represents the monthly salary E, and the cards he sells is the letter C. Okay, that should be in a different color because it's different information. So I'm gonna put that in blue. Okay, and now an equation is given and the question itself says, which table represents this situation? I like that they gave an equation here. So that's good. So we did circle, underline, and box. Now I need to do elaborate. For elaborate, I need to decide what will be the plan that I'm going to follow. Remember on the past questions, we said we can find what's the difference on the right side of the table and find the pattern, and from there we can create the equation. And that's one strategy that we can do. But my thing on this one is these numbers are too big and is 4 tables. So can I have a different way? And the answer is yes. What we're gonna do instead, for this question, we're gonna figure if this equation works for each of these tables. That might be shorter in time. So we're gonna do substitution. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna separate all the space I have to do the substitution for each of the tables. Great. So this is what I did, guys. I divided the whole space that I have and I copied the equation that is given. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to see if one of these tables matches with what the equation is telling me. So this is what we do, and it's really easy. You see how we said the E we highlighted in this color, yellow. So the values of E should be where we read E on the table. You see how it reads E here? So all of these values and any of these values will represent the value of E. Then we also have the number of cards, letter C, the variable C, and we see that on this side of the table, and it will be any of these numbers here. Great. Let's do the same thing with the rest of the tables. The C, we put it in blue, and here we have the C on the left side, so any of these numbers will represent the value of C. I'm going to do it in all the tables because I'm using the highlighter already. This is the C, and then I see that read C here. Do I have to check the label of each table? Yes, because sometimes they can flip the order, guys. So here I'm going to highlight this is my C, and I do the same thing for the left side of the table. Great. What I'm going to do next, I didn't finish highlighting the E's, so that's what I'm going to do. Any of these values can be the E. And also I highlight those on the equations. So those values that we highlighted in yellow and in blue, we have to do substitution, or we can just plug in any of those numbers from the table. But it has to be from the same row. Example, I'm gonna get started, and I always like to get started with the smallest numbers because those numbers are easy to work out. So it is always easier to work out smaller numbers than larger numbers like these numbers. I will have to do a multiplication by 12 and add in this number. So I get started with the easiest ones. Okay, so you see I'm gonna focus on this row. They have to come in pairs because remember these are ordered pairs, X, comma, Y. Okay, so let's do it. What is the first value of E? Well, it's 1,450. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the 1,200, bring down the plus, the 360, and that needs to multiply. When a number is in front of a variable, of a letter, that means multiplication. What is the first value of C? It's a 1. So you see, now instead of having the variables, the letters, we do substitution for the numbers. And now we're gonna do this. Okay, so the 1450 must be equal to 1200 plus, what is 360 times 1? Well, it's just 360. You see, guys? Great. And this is an easy addition. If you have 1200 plus 360, okay, we add the same place value to same place value. So we're going to do this addition but horizontally. 0 plus 0, that's a 0. Now, tens to tens. 6 plus 0, that's a 6. Now, hundreds with hundreds. 3 and 2, that makes a 5. And then this one has no thousands, and the thousands is a 1 here. 1 plus 0, that's 1. But on the left side, we have 1,450. So is the table working? No, it's not working. So we definitely cannot take this choice as our answer. You see, guys? So this process is very simple. So let's do the next one. For the value of E, now we're going to have 1,560. Bring down the equal. That must be equal to 1,200 plus 360 times the C, and the C is a number 1. And so you can see I got this one from this side of the table, and we got the 1,560 from this side of the table. And we have to do one row at a time. Why? Because this is an ordered pair, so they cannot be separated. It means a point in the graph that cannot be broken down. Okay, great. So we're gonna do this addition. And here I know that 360 times 1 is gonna be 360. I bring down the 1,200 plus 360, which is exactly like the one we got on choice A. So this one is gonna be 1,560. So what we notice here is that for the first row is working. For this row, it is working. These two values work for the equation. So what do I have to do next? I have to check another pair. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now I'm going to check the second point. For the second value, which this will be an ordered pair in the table, this is X and Y. They cannot be separated. They had to come from the same row. I'm going to do the substitution first. And this is 1,920. That's the value of Y. Must be equal to, the equation is the same for everyone. It's 1,200 plus 360 times C, which in this case is number 2. See that, guys? Great. So what I'm going to do is, okay, that 1,920, I got it from here. And this number 2, we got it from here. We're going to do this multiplication on the side. And I'm going to do here 360 times 2. So let's do it, guys. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 6, 12. 2 and I carry 1. 2 times 3, 6. Plus 1, 7. So I'm going to bring down the 1,200 plus 360 times 2. That's going to give me 720. And if I add these two numbers, I can do a horizontal addition. 0 plus 0, that's a 0. Then tens to tens. 2 plus 0, that's a 2. Hundreds to hundreds. 7 and 2, that makes a 9. And then thousands to thousands. 1,920. So this pair also works. So now we have to check the next pair. Okay, so now we're gonna start with the next row. When X equals 6 and the Y or the E is 3,245. But I'm gonna erase this multiplication that I have on the left side so I can use this space. Great. So I'm gonna do the third row. And for the value of E, this value of E, I'm gonna use this 3,245. You see that, guys? I'm gonna write it right here. 3,245. That must be equal. Now we're working on this row. We are on the third one, guys. So that's why I put this 3,245. That must be equal to 1,200 because that's from the equation, remember? 1,200 plus the equation, which is this one, has a 360 that multiplies the C, and in this case the C is a 6. And so you want lost track of from where I'm getting the numbers. I'm highlighting those right here. So you see this 3,245 is this 3,245 and this 6 is the 6. Okay, order of operations, we have to do this multiplication first. We're gonna do it on the side. And on the side, I'm gonna multiply 360 times 6. 6 times 0, 0. 6 times 6, 36. 6 and I carry 3. 6 times 3, 18. 18 plus 3, that's 21. Okay, great. So then it means that this is 1,200 plus, and the multiplication of these two gave me 2,160. Now we have to do our addition. And we're gonna do the addition as we have these numbers horizontally. That's okay, we can do it that way. Okay, so I'm gonna add ones to ones. 0 plus 0, that's gonna make a 0. Then I'm gonna add tens to tens. And that's 6 plus 0, that's a 6. Hundreds to hundreds. That's 1 plus 2, that makes a 3. And then I have thousands to thousands. 2 plus 1, that makes a 3. So when I combine 1,200 plus 2,160, we get 3,360. And this value here is not the same as the 3,245. So what does that mean? That when we use the third row of values in here, this value and this value didn't work anymore. So the table is not correct anymore. So we cannot choose this answer choice as our answer. See that, guys? Great. Now I'm gonna check the next table. So what happens, guys, when we have a table and one value is working? Do I have to check all the values? The answer is yes, until one of the values is not correct. Or for example, look what happened on table A. On table A, the very first one didn't work. This one was the value of X and this one was the value of Y. So here, these two values were not the same after we do the substitution. So that means we couldn't pick this table, and it was good because the first value didn't work. So what I'm gonna do here on the next one on C and D, I'm gonna do one and one at a time, because maybe the value that is not correct can be on the second and on the third row, and that way I can save some time. Okay, so I'm gonna get started with letter C. For letter C, the value of if, the first one we got is 1,560 equals 1,200 plus 360 times C. And if we notice, this is not the same value we have here, but we work it out in here. You see this, guys? You see this 1,560? From where did I get 1,260? By adding 1,200 here, and we have it also here now on the right side. See that, guys? Right here. Okay, and then we added 360 times 1, which is going to be the same thing here. So now I know that if I add 1,200 plus 360 times 1, it's going to be 360 times 1 is 360. Plus this 1,200 is going to be definitely 1,560. So that means this value and this value are correct. So far, this pair is working. And I'm going to try the next one down here. Hopefully, if this one doesn't work in the first row, that means I can eliminate this choice, right? Okay, so let's do it. The first value of E is 1450. And now you see that it's not working, right? Because then we already know that 1200 plus 360 times 1, which is the first value we got in the table. We always have to use the first pair of values that we have. Like these are the values that we got here, right? We do the operations and we already know that 360 times 1 is 360. And we know that if we add 1200 plus 360, because we did it on the top, you see on choice C, we already did it. And we know this is going to be 1560. And this value is not the same as the 1450 we needed. So this value didn't work. So we cannot pick D. So what should be your answer? Our answer is going to be C, definitely. I can do more of these guys, but we don't have that much space. And anyway, I already discarded the other options. So for sure, I know my answer is going to be C. And this is the other way that we have to solve our answers. When we have an equation given different tables. So the strategy can be use the equation that is given, do substitution in the tables, and find the table that really matches with the equation that is given. Awesome, guys. Thank you.